Hi, my name is Doug Brower, and I'll be presenting the MD&A Management Discussion and Analysis on the next few slides. MD&A is a narrative yet critical section of financial reports. In this, executives interpret financial results, trends, risks, and future outlooks to be better forecasted planning, which also includes management's perspective on material information and its relevance to financial positions. By providing MD&As, an organization can significantly improve the accuracy of budget and forecast. The goal is to show how a disciplined MD&A approach, grounded in real data and analytical visuals, can lead to more informed and reliable forecasts for the remainder of the fiscal year 2025 and beyond. MD&As provide context of financial statements, which show direction of the business. They reveal performance drivers, which highlight factors that outperform and underperform. They offer management's perspectives, which help communicate success and financial position. They highlight liquidity and capital resources, which help to understand the company's financial position. And finally, they discuss trends and uncertainties, which provide a forward-looking view by discussing current trends. In the next few scenarios, we'll be discussing Apple and Tesla and how their analysis for the fiscal year 2025 is forecasted. And this is through effective budgeting under uncertainty involves projecting multiple what-if scenarios rather than relying on single outcome. We developed 3 fiscal year 2025 revenue scenarios for each product category, which are base case, optimistic, and pessimistic, to capture a range of potential performances. Moving forward, we're going to show some examples of Apple's management discussion and analysis. Year-over-year comparisons reveal how each product line performed amid market conditions. We calculated revenue growth as prior year. This trend analysis and inflection point shows Apple Mac's segment rose from $29.36 billion in fiscal year 2023 to $29.28 billion in fiscal year 2024, a growth approximately of 2.1%. The iPad annual revenue fell from $28.30 billion to $26.69 billion, a negative 5.7 change. And lastly, the iPhone performance essentially was unchanged. What that was showing was that the base case assumed a continuation of current trends with moderate improvement. We project iPhone revenues to grow about 3%, roughly. Mac to grow 10% continued post the M3 boost, and iPad to grow 5%, sustaining some of the recent rebound. Optimistically, in the fiscal year 2025, we assume favorable conditions and successful product launches. Here, iPhone revenue grows about 8%, given the uptake possibly driven by popular phones. Mac grows about 15% with a strong demand for a new Mac model, and the iPad grows 10%, accelerating adoption of new iPads. The pessimistic side of things in fiscal year 25 assumes the adverse conditions ergonomic will shut down or supply constraints. iPhone revenue is modeled to decline by 5%, Mac remains roughly flat 0 growth, and the iPad takes a 5% downtake on the year-over-year, reflecting a pullback after the initial post-launch bump. This graph demonstrates how the MD&A-driven analysis can enhance forecasting rigor using Apple Inc.'s financial data for fiscal year 2023, fiscal year 2024, and the first quarter of fiscal year 2025. Apple's major production category, iPhone, Mac, and iPad, and illustrate a predictive accounting technique, which is the year-over-year analysis, scenario modeling, and contribution margin evaluation with the visual dashboards. Figure 3 forecasted fiscal year 2025 revenue under base, optimistic, and pessimistic scenarios compared to actual fiscal year 2024. For each product, iPhone, Mac, and iPad, the leftmost bar is actually 2024's revenue, and the 3 bars to the right are the projected 2025 revenues in the base, optimistic, and pessimistic cases. Respectively, these projections were computed by applying assumed growth rates to the fiscal year 2024 baseline. The chart illustrates how different assumptions from strong demand by downturn would impact Apple's product revenues, with iPhone's large base causing the biggest swing. Risk assessment and sensitivity. No forecast is complete without evaluating risks and sensitivities. A notable risk highlighted by our analysis is Apple's heavy reliance on iPhone's revenue. iPhone contributed over half of Apple's total sales in recent periods. In fiscal year 2024, for example, iPhone accounted for approximately 51% of Apple's $391 billion revenue, whereas Mac and iPad provided only about 8% and 7% respectively. Next, we're going to take some examples of Tesla's management discussion and analysis moving forward for the fiscal year 2025. This summary will show the revenue, profitability, and cash as part of the MD&A by quarter. Our operating income decreased 42% year over year, $2.9 billion, resulting in a 4.1% operating margin. Year-over-year operating income was primarily impacted by the following items. They had lower regulatory credit revenue, increase in operating expenses driven by AI and other R&D projects, decline in vehicle deliveries, and an increase in SBC. Also, the growth in energy generation and storage gross profit. Tesla financial summary in this chart the market shares of Tesla vehicles is depicted by region. This chart depicts location by area, model with the capacity and status, and how it grows over time. Tesla annual quarterly revenue history and growth rate from 2011 to 2025 was as follows. 2025 increased 11.57% year over year to 20.095. 2024 was $97.69 billion, which was a 95% increase from 2023. In 2023, there was a $96.773 billion, which is an 18.8% increase from 2022. And lastly, the 2022, which was $81.462 billion, which was a 51% increase from 2021. Year over year, you can see how these numbers increase over time. In conclusion, applying MD&A principles to the budgeting and forecasting process leads to clearer, more rigorous predictions. Through these case studies, we demonstrate how dissecting historical performance year over year and quarterly analysis and discussing it in an MD&A style narrative provides context to the numbers which were informed, what growth rates or inflection points to expect going forward. This comprehensive data-driven approach addresses both the headwinds and tailwinds discussed in MD&A and their quantifiable impact on future results.